Hello, and thank you very much for coming to this lovely panel, Markets, the New Normal. As a producer myself, I am Grania from Paper Owl Films, and we're getting used to working in radically changed market conditions. So this is a great panel for producers out there who want to hear from broadcasters about where they're going to be and how they're going to be receiving pitches. We're going to hear from the events organisers about how the markets are going to run in the next year. And then we've got a pitching expert to help us make the most of those opportunities. So I'll run through now and I'll introduce everybody who is on the panel today. First of all, we've got Mikhail and Veronique from MIFA, the market at Annecy International Festival, which was virtual earlier this year. We've got Lucy Smith from Read My Dem to talk about all the MIPs, MIPCOM, MIP Junior. We've got Jocelyn Christie from Brunico, who's going to talk to us about Kidscreen and how that's going to work this year. And also just today, hot new sale today is the UK delegation for Kidscreen. So snap up your tickets for that. And Beth Parker, who's one of the chairs at Cartoon Forum, which took place virtually this summer. So we'll be hearing from her about what's going to happen next year. And we have also international pitching expert, Paul Barros, who is going to help us make the most of all the opportunities for the year ahead in a new world. So just to kick off and let you know how this is going to run, we've got 5 key chapters, the first of which is about the virtual markets that are going to happen next year. Each chapter starts with a video from the broadcasters telling us where they're going to be. Then we're going to hear from the events organisers themselves about the opportunities on offer. And then Paul Barros is going to follow up and he is going to tell us how to make the most of all of that. So first off, Darren, could you play the video from the broadcasters about what virtual markets are working for them and where they're going to be next year?
So I think the first virtual market I attended this year was Annecy, which worked quite well. I would say it probably worked better for me than some of the others who participated because of the whole time zone thing. That's something you obviously don't struggle with when it's, an in-person event. But overall, the event worked really well. So next year, I know Kidscreen is also going to be virtual. That's an event that I plan on being part of as well. But to be honest, I haven't really looked anything past Kidscreen for next year so far. I think the general consensus is we're all kind of still waiting to see what happens outside of a 4-month window.
We've attended all the virtual markets that are available, pretty much, that are relevant to kids in 2020. So in 2021, we absolutely plan to be physically attending all markets where it is safe and legal to do so. Virtual markets are a pretty poor substitute for the real thing, if I'm honest. The term market doesn't really work in the virtual world. We obviously meet with all our regular clients. We meet with a few new people. We use the databases and platforms to try to source new leads, and same when we're buying, people find us and we do pitches. But there are some fundamental problems, aside from the obvious one being you can't physically be with another person, which is, as humans, we need that interaction, particularly if you're trying to sell a concept or idea. It's always good to have physical materials, be it plush toys or a catalog. But the worst thing about this new world is that video, even though you're watching me now on a video, really isn't up to scratch when you're showing somebody a, multi-million-dollar ultra high definition super show with amazing music and voice cast that you cast some of the best voices in the world, and you're playing it through a tiny window that's out of sync, and you're not even sure the person on the other side of the screen is listening, looking, or you can't see if somebody's glazed over via Zoom where you can in person. I think if you're selling development and it's slides and it's PDFs and PowerPoints and things, then that's slightly different. I think you can do that because you can get the definition on your development. But the virtual world is a short-term solution.
Kidscreen, for one, it's incredibly important, partly because of where it falls at the beginning of the year. And it helps also because there could be delays in some of our productions. So we go to, we do some of these markets just to see what's available for the rest of the year. For the first time, ITV will be doing a coffee with and a speed pitching session. And it's something we haven't done for many, many years. But it's to allow more people, more producers, more kids content creators access to CITV, because we do understand it is incredibly difficult at the moment to pitch shows, to get in contact with broadcasters, etc. I have done Cartoon Forum for the first time. I'm going to be doing Kidscreen, virtual Kidscreen. I'll be probably doing MIP TV as well. I am trying to do as many markets as possible just to give people as much access to the channel as possible.
So this year we tried out a few. I feel like next year I'll probably attend a few more. And Annecy I thought was great this year because on top of being able to have some meetings, I could actually do some of the screening. Like with all the screening available online, it made it much easier to be able to watch a ton of amazing content. I feel like next year we'll probably attempt things like MIP and Kidscreen, depending on what that is. It might not be all of us, but I'm sure we'll divide and conquer and have people at each of the key markets next year, and probably try and cover them a lot more than we did this year.
I guess the fact that we've all become used to video conferences from all over the world has made us much more accessible. So we've actually been able to meet more people face to face than we were able to before, because we haven't had to travel. And I would say that meetings have become more concise and productive. I think people are doing their research before they meet us, which means that we get to the point of the meeting a lot quicker, if you like. If there's a digital market happening, we hope to take part in it and for Nickelodeon to be present. The tech keeps getting better and better, and actually they're quite slick.
I would say Cartoon Forum, because they really managed, I think, to make a really good online solution, which was really easily navigated and with great pitches. Kidscreen in February, for sure, and MIFA in June, and I hope CMC in July.
So I personally will probably focus on markets that have that deliver intel on the industry, trends, spark the conversation on the future of kids media.
We just have more time in our schedule because we're not traveling on a daily basis, and we're not traveling for events. So I am finding I can dedicate some of that time to fitting in people that we might not have been able to put into a busy event schedule. As a result, we've started some really interesting conversations with new people, and I thoroughly applaud this opportunity, because it's by looking for new talent that we're all basically going to secure what we're doing going forward in a very competitive market. I, for the first time in my professional career, have been able to attend every virtual market, because you can fit them in around your ordinary work, because we go back to this commitment to not having to travel, and the fact that you don't get behind on things. And even if there's an overlap, which there has been with events like the Ottawa Animation Festival just coming along on the end of Cartoon Forum, which then ran into MIP. I haven't been able to go to the Ottawa Animation Festival for years, and it's one of my absolute favourite events. But this year we could. So we've said yes to everything. They're all great, and they've all got their value, and we're going to be at all of them if we're invited.
So yeah, it's kind of, I suppose, obviously blanket ban was put on travel, as you know, everybody knows, well, from our organisation anyway, from last kind of March. So the plan is for 2021 that virtually we'll be attending Kidscreen, which is always a really, really good market for us. It's a really good opportunity to touch base with people Then obviously Animation Dingle is happening virtually again this year, and the CMC obviously in Sheffield is one of my favourites. And Cartoon Forum, which I only attended for the first time in 2019, but it was so brilliant just in terms of seeing new IP, at a really, really early stage. And we got a number of commissions, or we're working with a number of producers as a result of attending Cartoon Forum. And then the final one would be MIP Junior, which I did this year. So, it's great to attend these, but you're getting sent links, you're having Zoom meetings. Again, that opportunity to meet in the foyer, or to have that drink in the bar, or just to touch base with people is missing. And also I do find, which is really irritating, is that when you're doing it on your own time, your actual day job begins to encroach upon what you're actually supposed to be doing at the festival or the marketplace. So it is tricky to do, and kind of things kind of do get long fingered. But yeah, they're the ones we're hoping to be at anyway next year.
So great. That was lovely. And special thanks to Alison Warner from Blue Zoo for recording all those videos so efficiently. It's great to hear directly from the broadcasters as a producer. And also I want to say about, if anybody has any questions, at the bottom of your screen, as per the slide, there is a little button for Q&A. So if you post your questions in there, we will do our best to answer them. So we're going to come now, we're going to ask our events organisers what they've got in store for us virtually in the year ahead, and any top tips on making the most out of the market. So we'll start with Anna C, Michaela and Veronique. Tell us a little bit about what's ahead for us this year.
So even if ANSI 2020 was in a way a success with 50,600 attendees, including 4,100 attendees for the market and 111 countries represented, we plan and we hope to have physically ANSI next June. So we are working on it. And beside what the content and what we'll organize physically in ANSI, we are working, and thanks to what we achieved online last June, we are working as well on content, digital tools that will connect people in order to enrich the experience of those who can assist and be in ANSI next June, or in order to allow for those who cannot come, we will not be able to come to participate in a way.
Great, thank you. And Lucy, what about all the MIPs?
Okay, well, I guess for us, the timing's a little strange right now because we're in the middle of delivering MIPCOM and therefore MIP Junior at the moment. MIPCOM and MIP Junior presently has had like 6,800 buyers, sellers, producers on the platform, and over a couple of thousand of buyers from over 100 countries. So it's a really, bringing the big global MIP community together. And it's all available still until November 17th. So there's over 200 sessions that are all available. And I heard someone talking about market intelligence. It's a really key part of what we are, very proud of being able to deliver. And there's at least 20 of those sessions are dedicated to the kids industry. And of course, there's the MIP Junior library. So that's still online, and that's got 1,200 programs and projects. So for producers, great way to push projects and get meetings. Next year, let's hope we're all going to get to see each other a bit more. Whatever we do, the digital component is always going to be more and more important. And we'll continue, using the learnings that we're coming out of MIP with now to improve everything we'll be able to deliver. But what we're hearing is people can't wait to get back to Cannes. So that is a big kind of takeaway.
That's great, thank you. And Jocelyn, how can we get the most out of Kids Screen next year?
So we're right in the midst of planning the event, obviously, and there's a lot to share. I'm not going to be able to touch on all of it in the time that we've got for this question, but we do have a really great demo video that's up on our website at the moment at summit.kidscreen.com. So I encourage everyone to check it out. It really lays out our full plan for the virtual event and outlines all of the networking opportunities that we're offering. We really are leaning into that lack of connection that everyone is feeling. and specifically trying to solve for the lack of serendipitous connection that, you know, that is very difficult to provide in a virtual event space. We've been working on it for many months now, and we think that we've got some good solutions. In addition to sort of expanding the number of pitching opportunities that are available in our facilitated pitching formats to more than double what we usually offer at a live event. We are also launching a lot of new social networking and other business networking opportunities to get people together, to get them talking, to get them discovering new partners, new projects, and you know, and those are the connections that you need to really build your business in the year ahead. So that is our number one goal, and we're laser focused on it, and our program will provide that.
Hey, great, thank you. Beth, what about Virtual Cartoon Forum?
So obviously Cartoon Forum 2020 has not long happened, and we've got a good while yet before 2021 happens. So the dates for next year, 20th to the 23rd of September 2021. The plan is still very much to keep this a live event, because the ethos behind Cartoon Forum is to give producers the opportunity to meet as many people, as many buyers as possible. But this year, 2020, the virtual event was a real success. And there are a lot of things that we can take from that and put into later forums to take advantage. So for example, we had a 21% increase in the number of buyers that attended 2020 on 2019. And we think that's because they had the opportunity to see all of the pictures digitally. So we need to kind of think about how we can take that opportunity and feed it into our plans for 2021. But as I say, way too early for us to really know what next September is going to look like.
Lovely, thank you very much. We've already had a positive comment in the Q&A about all the virtual markets, so thank you very much for that. We're going to move on now, and Alison next asked our broadcasters, how can producers meet with you in the virtual world?
Really, I don't feel that there's much of a barrier from before, and if anything, it's kind of I suppose encouraged new opportunities for people to meet face to face where perhaps you know, in the normal world that wouldn't happen.
Through email, I think it's a great way for us to be able to track who you are and have a permanent record, and it stays in my inbox for a period of time. So it kind of reminds me that I need to at least read a bit up on whatever it is you sent me. Maybe it's an introduction to yourself. Maybe it's a bit of your show. Maybe it's because you know somebody or you like what we're doing.
Producers are able to send projects straight away after they've pitched it to me. So I almost feel like the process is almost being streamlined, perhaps not in a good way, because ideally you do want to build that rapport with that person just to get a bit more understanding of where they're coming from with their project. However, we are in the situation we're in, and we're all doing the best that we can. LinkedIn, that is quite important. Cold calling, less so, because a lot of us are working from home now.
Honestly, I've always tried to be quite open about people approaching me out of the blue, and I'm still more than happy for people to try and approach me. The one thing I'll say is that it's just becoming more and more difficult to get back to everyone.
So now we have so many different ways of getting in touch with us. So I think email is probably still the preferred method, but just be mindful that it might take a little while to filter back to you.
I think email and LinkedIn have worked really well this year. And they're definitely like the two means that I look out every day.
The time is quite limited, and we are all working quite a long hours. I would say the best way is to contact a broadcaster or investor is to write a quite short email about the project and explain what is going on, very short form, and maybe add some visuals.
So it has been tricky, but we're still, I suppose, maintaining just open conversations. And, you know, really what I've been kind of keen to push with all our producers is that, you know, we're open for business, and send me an email, you know, and we'll get back to you.
So there we are. Broadcasters are expecting to be emailed to agree meetings. So first we're going to ask the event organisers what they've got in store for us to make that process more manageable. And then we're going to hear from Paul Barros, who's going to help us make sure that our emails stand out and get answered. Jocelyn, do you want to kickstart there? How can we arrange meetings at Kidscreen?
So we are significantly upgrading our Exchange platform so that in the past it's been more of a support tool for the event. This year, because we are virtual, every part of the event is going to live on Exchange and run through Exchange. So the messaging functionality that we have on that platform is going to be in people's face all the time when they are logged onto the platform for the event. We're also opening the scheduling and messaging features in early December because we know that people are building their schedules for the event at that time. We don't want to wait too late and not provide people with the tools that they need to get connected with each other. I think that over 4 weeks, the event is 4 weeks long this year, provides a lot more time for having those meetings when you're looking at a very truncated, sort of 4-day window for a live event. So I expect that our buyers and other partners that people might be interested in meeting with are going to have more time for meetings because they can stretch them out over a full month. Which should make them more accessible and more flexible for scheduling, which I think is great. We're also, so every business pass holder for Kidscreen Summit will have a personal video conferencing room that they can use for one-on-one and group meetings, and that will be live for the duration of the 4 weeks. So just some great tools to get people scheduling early and then having a full schedule that they can just roll through when the event starts for the full 4 weeks.
Gosh, isn't it amazing how we can all just adapt to change? Lucy, what's the crack for the MIPS for making meetings manageable?
Well, we're obviously using, we're working on what is coming out of the MIPCOM and MIP Junior events taking place at the moment. So we've got a lot of feedback that we're already taking forward to build in. It sounds actually quite similar to what Jocelyn's been talking about. It's the whole messaging ability is really making sure that you're able to, number one, is to identify the people you want to meet with. We are using the means to, we're asking people to really update their profiles in a very in-depth way so that you can easily identify. And again, it goes back to something we were hearing earlier, I think what Sarah was saying, the need to discover new people. That is absolutely key. And I think that, one thing we have is this huge community. We're using the profiling information to help and use the recommendation tool. So we're using algorithms to help push recommended people for people to discover new contacts. And then there are online meeting tools, online agendas. And again, it's having the means to follow up afterwards is that there's also a certain amount of, relationship management as well. We're building into this for follow up after the meeting. So it's a huge new world for us all. I think the virtual, tools, it's very different. So we're really building in a lot of new features as we move forward to enhance the overall experience.
Fantastic. And what about at Annecy?
Oh, so like Jocelyn and what has been said just right now, we've been upgrading our tools because it's the main thing in a virtual event is that you have to get the best tools to help you contact people. So we did it for 2020. We're going to upgrade even more for 2021. We use the Annecy network, which is the database where you can contact all delegates. And you have a way also to do some matchmaking and do some research according to the category or country or whatever. So it helps you target the people and get in contact with your real targets. And also we are putting in place some other events that used to take place physically, like share with sessions with buyers. You have the possibility to take meetings also directly with them, either on one-on-one, or you can reach them in a room, in a virtual room, and have a discussion like it was physically. So we've adapted on this virtual world. and also targeting new categories. So we are also putting in place some new events that will allow professionals to contact a certain category, and for an hour they will have the possibility to meet thanks to pre-organized and pre-selected meetings. I think the important thing is that you have less time, and it takes much more time to prepare some meetings. So we help them target their meetings, select them, and then organize them in a room dedicated to it.
Great, thank you. And Beth, it's kind of different for Cartoon Forum, huh? Yeah.
It is. And, you know, the Cartoon Forum is much more kind of instantaneous, but something we've always done and we've continued to do during the digital forum was give producers a list of people who have attended the pitch when we did it physically. And with the digital forum, we were able to give producers a list of everybody who watched their pitch that week. So they would get an update every week. New this year was the app, and that was very widely used, particularly for the evaluation forms. So evaluation forms were available both on the app along with the trailers for each pitch. And then evaluation forms were also available on the desktop platform. And we found those a really good way for producers to get feedback, but also it gave buyers the opportunity to ask for producers to send more materials and set up meetings that way. So we'll just keep doing that.
Yeah, well, lots of opportunities there, Paul. So how can we make sure if we're emailing someone to ask for a meeting that they're going to say yes to us?
Well, it's really 3 words: short and sweet. Because as you heard from Vicky earlier on, people don't have a lot of time. Think how many emails you get. Think how much time it takes to answer them. So make sure there's no waffle. A little bit of pleasantries, fine. But remember that you can't get very much over on your email. So keep it short and sweet. Think of it like a newspaper headline. You know, what's the headline? Get that in the subject matter. You know, and only ask for 10 minutes of somebody's time if you're asking for, can we get together? Anything more and you'll probably be knocked back.
Mon Dieu. Really not. Okay, great. That was lovely. We're going to move on now, and Alison asked our broadcasters, what do they want from a digital pitch?
I mean, preparation is always the number one thing. I think you've got to know as a pitcher what your USP is of your idea. You've got to know who you're pitching to and what their needs might be. Maybe sending some of the content beforehand would be good. We all know that, you know, video tends not to stream well over video calls, so it will enable you to have a more meaningful call when that happens.
I want to meet the person behind it, number one. As a distributor, we're not only buying the content, we're building a relationship. We're not a platform. We're not showing it to kids. We're showing it to our colleagues, our clients, you know, our friends. So, and the most important thing for us is to hear the passion behind the project, which can be done through Zoom, can be done over the telephone. And I think that digital pitch, as long as it's still got the passion, then at least we know that this story comes with some kind of heart, some purpose. We can see talent. And then the material side, as in the content itself, I think for us, it's always good to have a full Bible, always good to know all the characters, to understand the storyline. If there is a promo, then that's a shortcut. If it's an animatic, that gives us a good solid idea. But I think the minimum requirement is the Bible.
What I found has worked really well for pitches this year is for people not to come with a super slick and polished presentation. I've actually found that talking around ideas has been a good idea. To actually come with material is great as well. But I'm not expecting people to Zoom or conference me in and have like a PowerPoint ready. They can just talk to me quite openly and candidly about the idea, just as though we were at a market sat across a table. And then if they have some visuals or some follow-up materials, they can go ahead and share those as well. But honestly, like just having someone talk through their idea has always been the best way of pitching for me. And I think that still holds true now.
How it's been working is people reach out to us. My email should be available to people. And you can do one of two things. Largely, it's best if you do an introduction email and introduce both yourself and your company, if you have one, and then also the project that you'd like to talk about, because I think it's much better for everybody if we're informed beforehand of what we're going to be discussing. And also it will help to save time and energy and emotional investment for you as suppliers. If it's something that we've already got or isn't at all a fit for the channel, we can weed that out then.
Okay, so great. So that was pretty clear from the broadcasters. Paul, you have a lot of experience in coaching people to deliver great pitches. And we're all reading screens now instead of reading rooms. Let's start with you for this one. And maybe you could speak to us a little bit about how to make the best of your digital pitching opportunity.
Well, I think the most important word that came up there was passion. And Chris Rose was talking about it. You can't do any pitch without passion. So use that. That's what they're all there to see. And in the same way that Alexi said, I want to talk to someone. I want to hear their ideas as if we were at a market. Use that passion, because I've seen too many pitches where people are just going, I've got a great idea. You are going to love it. It's perfect for this slot. It doesn't do it. Passion wins every time. So when you combine passion with clarity about what your concept is, then you've got a winner. But more important than anything, in any medium, going back to what Chris said, passion.
And Paul, in the digital space, are there opportunities to get passion and clarity across more or less? What would you say?
I think it's slightly less, but we've at least you've got undivided attention. In the real world, you know, when we're all at different conferences, there are sometimes other things that are distracting. At least in this medium, you have the opportunity to get the undivided attention of the person in front of you. So use it, but don't abuse it. I.e., don't go on and talk to them, say, can we put an hour and a half in for our meeting? Because, you know, in the music business, there used to be a phrase which was, don't bore us, get to the chorus. You know, and that's really the essence of it. So you still need people to actually address you and feel your passion, but don't push it too much.
Brilliant. And I'll just ask each of the event organisers in a sentence, how can we make the most of the opportunities to pitch? What are our digital opportunities at your markets to get that passion and that clarity across? We start with you, Lucy.
Yeah, I'd say really use the tools that the online can give you, which are really in-depth profiles, both for yourself as a producer looking to pitch someone, be clear about what it is you're pitching, and look and read about who it is you want to pitch to, because they will have said what they're looking for. That's the key on a digital platform.
Excellent. And what about for Anna C, Veronique and Mikhail?
But this year we put in place to replace the physical pitch, we put in place pre-recorded videos for the pitching sessions, and it worked quite well because the pitch on scene, physical, can be very stressful, and the fact that they had to do it at their home and the way they want it, in fact, it revealed pitchings really great and original. And they could go give all they had in this pitch.
Even better.
Even better than a physical one sometimes. So it was a good opportunity, and we will probably keep it for the years to come.
There you go. You see, we're learning all the time. Beth, Cartoon Forum is obviously the big pitching opportunity. Any advice on how to make the best of it?
I'd say it's exactly the same whether you're doing a live pitch or a digital pitch. It's passion over PowerPoint. Yeah, it's one, not the other.
That's great. Thank you. And Jocelyn?
The number one thing I think is to register early enough so that you don't miss the signups for Speed Pitching and Coffee With. They open mid-December, and people need to be signed up in order to take advantage. We're also running a masterclass on perfecting your virtual pitch, which will happen the week before the event to get you ready. And then during the first week of the event, which is Market Week, we're running a series of mentoring sessions called Pitch Doctoring, where you can sign up to have a one-on-one meeting with a very experienced pitcher from the industry who will run through your project materials and run through your elevator pitch and give you some tips and advice on how to deliver it with more punch.
Gosh, that's amazing. And of course, the UK delegation tickets have gone on sale today. So that's perfect. Okay, brilliant. We'll move on. It's 20 to 3. So we've got 2 more chapters. So we do have a good, nice amount of time. And I love this one. How should producers not approach you?
That's a tough one. Well, I suppose there's no real chance of anyone being doorstepped anymore at any market. So, I mean, to be honest, I'm fine with kind of being contacted any which way, really. I think it all comes down to time. I don't have time to respond to everybody, but I do actively try to respond when I can.
So sometimes the things that put me off are unrealistic expectations. Sometimes there is trying to approach as needing lots of money, and I think it's good to have passion for your project and believe in your own project, but sometimes people oversell that something is going to become the next, insert show here, Peppa Pig, the next Paw Patrol, the next whatever. And when you've been doing this job for, over 20 odd years, you've heard that so many times before. It just doesn't really work for us. Not too much bullshit, just a small amount.
Some producers can launch into their pitch straight away because they feel they have half an hour and they need to fill that time talking about their project. But my advice is just trust the broadcasters. We do want to, if we want to work with you on your project, we just need to know a little bit more about you. I do like to talk to people just to find out what motivates them to make this show. And also, I think for us, if we're going to be investing in your idea, we need to know that you are in it for the long run, and you're not just here pitching the show and then you move on to another project.
Don't be too many people in the meeting, because that really, I don't think it works well if you're more than maybe 4 or 5 people, because everybody looks in different directions and it just gets really messy. So try to keep it to 2 or 3 people maybe. And in terms of that, I would say keeping in contact via email is always the best thing to do.
Like when a pitch doesn't become a conversation, I like to ask questions, but I like being asked questions as well. So yeah, being pitched without establishing rapport is probably like the first no-no that I can think about. I mean, we need connections now, like more than ever. So for me, it's meeting new people as well as, getting to know them and what they're doing.
The Zoom no-nos will be almost the same as the pitch no-nos. Obviously, you need to get your tech sorted out beforehand, because you want to be as relaxed and comfortable in the situation as you can, so you can do justice to your project and yourself. But I am finding that because people are in their own space, they haven't had to travel and worry about whether they will get there on time and who they're making and handshakes and how they're sitting, that people are very relaxed. So it's really a very productive environment, providing you know the tech's going to work. So that's number one. Practice share screen if you need to, because that seems to be a bit of a sticking point for a lot of people, that can get you quite flustered if it doesn't work and you haven't practiced it beforehand. But then the no-nos are the same. It's make sure you've researched who we are and what we're looking for, that you know what else we have on the slate, so we can have an informed conversation about where your project will fit in.
I've had loads of Zooms recently where people have been eating on them, believe it or not. And you don't know what to say, whether they're really rushed for time or, and you just kind of like staring at them, kind of, going, what's going on? People seem to think because they're on a Zoom call that it's not an actual meeting. You've got that screen separation. But also, I suppose, one thing that is important, I suppose, because people are kind of, suffering from, Zoom exhaustion, is, I think, to be prepared when you go onto a Zoom call, to kind of have all your ducks in a row, to be as concise as possible, to be engaged. I think eye contact is really important. People have a tendency sometimes, your camera's like here and you can kind of see the top of somebody's head, and it's to try and really just kind of look at your frame and kind of, try and really make it look as if you're having a face-to-face conversation with someone. Also, the sound is important as well. You don't want, glitchy sound. It can be quite irritating, and you get quite tetchy on Zoom, if things aren't going as it should be. And then obviously very, typical things like your broadband connection is secure and good as much as you possibly can. And then really, I think, practice it. I know that sounds ridiculous to say, but if you can kind of, have it, kind of in a way timed, and kind of just be confident as to what you're trying to pitch and what you're trying to say, just being prepared and looking at it as a kind of, I suppose, an opportunity, and to use it to your best advantage, I suppose.
So that was great, really interesting. So we've moved on from the advice of don't pitch people in the toilets when they're being sick. Paul, what advice can you give us for pitching digitally?
Well, I think there's some really good points on there. I think Suzanne's thing, I couldn't believe that in this day and age, people are actually eating sandwiches while pitching, which it sounds extraordinary to me. But there is such a thing as, people are now getting Zoom fatigue, as Suzanne said. And so you've got to actually make sure that they're not going to get tetchy. Now, I've seen lots of people on pitches, and I work with people who are doing their pitches, who turn up and are like this on the screen. So I'd like to tell you about my pitch. Now, already you can see it's irritating, isn't it? So why would you do it? We're people who work in television. Be professional. Think about the lighting. Think that people can see you. People can hear you. One of these will cost you $70. You can plug it into the back of your computer. This is about communication. We work in a communication industry. Please get your communication right. And the other thing is, if I can just, I know we've rushed for time, but rapport, which is what Darren was talking about. It's the same as in the real world. If you don't have rapport, nobody is going to buy from you.
And how can we create rapport, though, if there's a screen in the way?
Well, actually, one of the things you can do is at least look towards the camera. How many people do you see doing this? How believable do I look at this present moment? You see what I mean? I've got a very attractive top of my head, but you don't want to see it that much. It is about going. Now, the other word that came out was practice. You can practice your pitch. Actors rehearse. Everybody you have in your shows rehearses. You expect them to. Why do you expect not to rehearse before doing a pitch? And, you know, whether that's share screen or whether that's looking into camera, please be a professional.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. I'm going to move on and show the last video, events guys, if you don't mind, because then it'll give us longer. We'll be more relaxed when we know the time. And this is about how do we network at a digital market. So from the broadcasters first.
It's really, really hard, and I can appreciate how difficult it is for anyone starting out in the industry to try and get access or ask for a broadcaster to give you time. I can only speak from the ITV perspective. We are always open to speaking to people. My email address can be found via the CMC. Do contact me. I am more than happy to meet you. Also, in terms of giving feedback, we're very, very happy to do that. I'll be honest with you and tell you if the idea will work for us or not. I think in terms of networking, markets are important. So don't just rely on LinkedIn to try and build up your contacts list. Do attend markets, speak to as many people as possible. There are people who've been in the industry 20, 30 years. So just don't speak to broadcasters. Speak to other producers who've been content makers in the industry for a very, very long time, just to pick up as many tips as you can.
I don't know. Maybe we have to have more online drinks. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to have to think of something. I'm hoping there is some form of face-to-face, even if we do some outdoor meetings or something in 2021. But yeah, I don't know. We're just going to have to all keep working together and keep looking out for each other in this industry, I think, and finding ways to connect. Probably have to do some walks in the park, maybe.
It's really difficult, isn't it? We're looking forward to taking part in virtual conferences. We've attended some events where there have been those informal kind of mad Zooms at the end where it's a bit of a free-for-all. So I think they'll continue to be finessed and refined. You can always, as we were just saying, you can always talk to us and try and arrange a meeting on the back of those larger conferences. And if we're able to, we'd love to talk to you.
I really miss networking. I really miss meeting new people. So if anyone has any great ideas, please tell me, because I want to know.
I think, first of all, for contact seekers, it's to be clear of what one is looking for. So is it content strategy advice, distribution expertise for TV distribution or digital distribution? And I think from on the side of the industry experts, it's to sort of commit to facilitating introductions that are not made easy because of everyone being at home. So I was thinking, sort of a rolling one-on-one sponsor of matchmaking system where industry experts would declare what topics they would be able or would like to share advice on, then be paired with someone looking for similar intel, and then for experts to give like 30 minutes of their time and do their best to make a further introduction.
Right, so this is the tricky one. Because for some of us, there's an existing network because we've all been doing this for years, but it's much harder if you're a new or young person trying to find your way in to this new market. So I think that's going to be down to the event organizers. And I think that's one of the bits of advice that I would give people who are looking to make decisions about what they're going to participate in, that just check what these additional facilities are for spending time with people outside of pitches and sessions, because the good ones have really got the spin-off rooms, the breakout sessions, the chances to speak in a different way, really well organized. And that is going to make a lot of difference, because that will be your opportunity to start something like a personal relationship, the relationship you're going to need going forward, so you can have the kind of conversations that any project that you're trying to bring to the world will need?
Oh dear, that's a very tough question, because it's very hard to organize networking sessions, especially if you have a lots of people in one Zoom call or Hangout call. Connections are quite difficult, and also the time zones. So it's somebody's morning and somebody's evening, and then it's hard to raise a class or something like that. But at the same time, maybe in each virtual festival or market, you might have a small networking session only for maybe 6 persons. So and you invite a host. You host, somebody's hosting the thing, and then you try to meet up a new people.
Yeah, I suppose it's keeping in touch with the various sectors, is just hugely important. We recently did a kind of a virtual get together with the Irish animation industry, and I think it was really important to do, not only just to kind of introduce myself to maybe up and coming, animation companies, but also just they can see that, you're still there, that you care about the content they're producing, to also kind of keep them abreast of the types of stuff you have on your slate, what you do want, what you don't want. And really, again, just to kind of get that message out there, approach us, come into us, and that we're here to be leaned on. And I suppose in this particular time that we can open doors, for funding opportunities, on a European level, on a worldwide level. And it's really just to kind of, just to make sure that point of contact, is kept. Our plan in going into Q1 and Q2 2021 is to have these kind of like full day kind of pitching sessions. So we'll be asking producers across the animation sector and the live action sector to register. And then we will be at their disposal for a full day. It'll be kind of like speed dating, I suppose, whereby they get an opportunity just to be in front of us and pitch us their idea. And then we'll come back to them very quickly with feedback. So I just think it's about making sure that the conversation is flowing, the conversation is opening between the producers and the broadcasters. And that really, surely that's a good thing. I think, in a way, kind of the barriers have kind of been, torn down a little bit, and, conversation is much more free flowing, and that can only be good for the industry.
So that's so true. So a massive part of going to a market is having the crack and the connections that come from that. So Lucy, what are the opportunities for networking at digital MIP markets?
We've organised quite a lot around helping people discover new people. And again, it's going back to the ability to, we're using algorithms to push recommendations of new people to meet. And for this, it's, going back to the buyers who've just been talking, it's, play the game, keep a bit of time reserved to, accept some of those recommendations and meetings and discover some of those new people. The other part of networking that we've been, we did a small amount of at this last show, and we'll do more in April and moving forward, is the idea of those sort of smaller communities getting together, inviting 2 or 3 experts, and then having new producers be able to sign up. And those are really excellent opportunities to, open those doors and start to network. And also those we've done around diversity, around women, and having a subject around which people can bond and sort of create a community feel is also a way to discover new people. So yeah, those breakout rooms are definitely a very important way to go, and we'll be doing more of those in the future.
Brilliant. And Jocelyn, what about at Kids Screen? How can we network?
Well, I mean, I think we're missing having fun together. And so, so I think we're missing that a lot. And so again, with our focus on making connections and building in more networking opportunities, a lot of the focus that we're playing around with right now is on social networking. We really want to get people together in small groups, talking and having fun together. So, part of our program, we're planning weekly game nights where we get together and do kids entertainment trivia. We play categories, we do scavenger hunts. This is a kooky one, but we're looking at doing something called Pet Parade, where we have scheduled small group chats with people who have their pets on screen with them. And we can talk about business, but we can also talk about pets. We can talk about life in general. Just, some fun networking in small groups. We've got things like cocktails with and cooking with, where, you know, you can, with a small group, come and make a drink and enjoy a drink, or make a small meal and enjoy a small meal with a buyer. So those should be kind of fun. Creative Corner, where we're inviting sort of industry leaders who have discovered new hobbies during quarantine that they're proud of to come and share them in small groups with people. It's really just about making those connections happening. It doesn't always have to happen in a scheduled pitch meeting. It's really just about connecting, meeting new people, because that leads to new business, new projects, new partners, all kinds of great things that we need right now and we're not getting in the usual ways.
Brilliant. And what about at Annecy? Just very quickly, how can we network in 30 seconds?
Well, I would say, like Jocelyn said, it's difficult for people to always to be serious and organized, and you can't bump into somebody and suddenly have a discussion. So this is something that also we're working on, finding tools that allows something more not planned. And like for the Annecy network that we have upgraded, the possibility also to go through profiles, and suddenly you see one profile that pleases you, and you can connect directly because there's information that the person is in connection to, and you can just like that connect visually or with audio, or so it's more instinct meetings probably also to push.
And we will find a way to organize a cheese fondue party. I don't know how to organize it with a laptop, but we will make it.
Very good. And Beth, how can we network through Cartoon Forum if it's digital?
I think the best way is to follow up on those people that have attended your sessions, because if they've attended, they've watched it, if they've sent you an evaluation form, you know that there's a spark of interest there. So follow up on that, but also follow up with your colleagues, your peer. You know, keep your peer network alive, because those are the opportunities that will come up later. Because, you know, you've got to remember that you're not just wanting people to like your show, you want people to work with you as well. So it's really important to kind of keep those peer network nurtured as well.
Oh, wow. Well, just picking up on what Beth said, how can we make sure that people will want to work with us through our networking opportunities online?
Well, one of the words that popped out to me was Jocelyn's word of fun. Remember, I'm a psychologist, and as a psychologist, what people love is fun. If you can bring a little bit of fun into their lives, then they will remember you, and then you will get a chance to pitch. So Suzanne said earlier on, you know, they want people to approach. You know, don't go thinking, oh, we're in a digital world, they'll feel like we're imposing. Suzanne said, approach us. We want that. Remember, they need ideas. And, you know, your network is your net worth. So keep expanding your network. Keep developing it, even in this time. If you can bring a little bit of fun, that could be sharing a joke with somebody. What happens is they start to associate you with fun. And guess what? Next time you've got an idea, they will want to listen to it.
I love it. Oh, thank you all so much. That was all really good. I want to say thanks to everybody who worked so well to make this session happen today. And I've got things that I need to tell you about now, what's happening next. So before we go, a quick reminder, there are 6 on-demand videos that you can watch, and Darren will post the link to you. Also, there's one that's particularly relevant, which is adding value with research. So this is about how to use audience research in the development process. So a really good one to hook up with. And then the all-important best last of the day, I suppose, is the Commissioner Conversations at 4 o'clock. So up next, live in Zoom, an hour from now, is that the final event of the day and the chance to hear from commissioners. So just to say thank you all very much. I'm sure a lot of producers got a lot out of this, as I definitely did. So thank you all very much.